Remember, God led you here for a reason. The question is, what will you do with it? Today, I want to share something powerful with you, something that might speak directly to your heart, something I truly believe many of us need to hear right now. In life, we all face battles. Some battles are small, others feel like they're overwhelming us. But what if I told you that God has the power to take your battles and turn them into blessings? It might sound too good to be true, but let's dive in and explore why it's not. Turning trials into triumph. When we go through hardships, it's easy to feel defeated. Sometimes it feels like we're walking through the darkest valleys, and the weight of our struggles is too much to bear. But if you open your heart to the truth of the Bible, you'll find that God often uses our struggles to shape us into who He wants us to be. Take a moment and think about a time when you were going through something difficult. Maybe you lost a loved one, faced health challenges, or encountered unexpected setbacks in your life. It's in those moments when you feel the most lost that God can step in and change everything. He has this amazing way of transforming pain into purpose. He doesn't leave us to face our battles alone. There's a verse in Romans 8:28 that says, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." That means whatever you're going through, God can work it out for your good. He will take your struggles and use them for something greater. The story of Job. Let me share a story from the Bible that illustrates this so beautifully. Have you ever heard the story of Job? His life is an incredible example of how God can turn your battles into blessings. Job lost everything: his wealth, his family, his health. He went through unimaginable suffering, yet his faith remained strong. The book of Job in the Bible shows us that even in our lowest points, God is with us. Job questioned, he wept, but he never cursed God. In the end, God not only restored everything Job had lost, but gave him even more. Isn't that just like God? He doesn't just bring us through our trials, He uses them to elevate us. So no matter how tough things seem, remember that God has the power to turn your pain into purpose. Internal transformation, a life change through faith. It's easy to see external blessings, things like financial provision or healing, but the real transformation happens inside us. When we face our battles with faith, we allow God to work on our hearts. It's like a process of inner alchemy, turning our weaknesses into strengths. I want to ask you, how are you viewing your current struggles? Are you seeing them as burdens, or are you trusting God to turn them into opportunities for growth? This is where the real power lies. God can use every trial to refine us, to make us more like Him, and to build us into stronger, more compassionate people. How to faith a life that transforms. Living by faith means trusting God not only in the easy moments, but also in the hard ones. It's about surrendering your worries and fears to God and knowing that He's working in the background, even when we can't see it. So how do we begin to faith a life? It starts with letting go of control. We often try to handle our battles ourselves, thinking we can fix everything on our own. But true faith means releasing those struggles to God and trusting that He knows what's best for us. God's blessings don't always come in the form of what we expect. Sometimes His greatest blessings are the lessons we learn through pain, the wisdom we gain through struggles, and the inner peace we find through surrender. The blessing in the battle, finding peace through God. Now let's talk about what it means to truly find peace in the midst of our battles. It's easy to say, trust in God, but when you're in the middle of a difficult situation, it can be hard to hold on to that peace. But here's something I want you to remember. Peace doesn't come from the absence of battles. It comes from the presence of God. When we invite God into our battles, He replaces our fear with His peace. There's a beautiful verse in Philippians 4:6-7. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. That peace is what God offers us. Peace that doesn't make sense in the middle of chaos. And it's that peace that transforms our battles into blessings. We all go through seasons in life that feel dark, overwhelming, and even hopeless. But what if I told you that these valleys are not accidents? What if I told you that they are part of God's beautiful plan for your spiritual growth? You see, valleys are a part of the journey. They are not places of despair. They are divine moments designed for our growth. And I'm here to remind you that even in the darkest seasons, God is with you, guiding you through every step. The valleys are part of the journey. Psalm 23 beautifully reminds us, even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. This verse is a beacon of hope, a reminder that no matter how deep the valley is, we are never alone. God walks with us, even when we can't see the way out. Life is full of ups and downs, and those valleys, those difficult seasons, are not random. They are part of the process, part of our spiritual journey. There's a reason for every trial, every moment of hardship. These are divinely orchestrated growth moments where God shapes us, strengthens our faith, and molds our character. When we find ourselves in these valleys, we can choose to look up to God and trust in His purpose. Standing firm in faith, but it's not easy, is it? The valley can feel lonely, even when we know God is with us. It's in these moments we need to stand firm in our faith. Psalm 56:3 says, "When I am afraid, I put my trust in you." That's where the power lies. Standing firm in faith doesn't mean we don't feel fear. It means that in spite of our fear, we choose to trust in God's power. Our faith is not just in good times. It's built and tested in the difficult seasons, the valleys. Imagine this. You're walking through a season where everything feels uncertain. You might feel anxious, unsure of what's next. But then you remember God's promises are unshakable. He's with you, He's for you, and His love is eternal. And in those moments of uncertainty, we must stand firm, holding on to those promises with unwavering faith. A life fully surrendered to Christ. Now let's talk about what it means to surrender fully to Christ. We often hear about giving our lives to Jesus, but what does that really look like in everyday life? It's not just about attending church on Sundays or praying when things go wrong. A life surrendered to Christ means that every part of our lives, our relationships, our decisions, our plans, are shaped by His will. Serving God brings fulfillment that the world can never offer. It's not about chasing after worldly success or possessions, but about finding purpose in living for God. When you fully surrender to Christ, you begin to see the world differently. The things that once seemed important may start to fade, and the things that truly matter, your relationship with God, the people you love, and the impact you have on others takes center stage. Struggles in the Christian walk. Now let's talk about something many of us struggle with: living a Christ-centered life in a world full of distractions. It's not easy. We're constantly bombarded with messages that encourage us to pursue success, fame, wealth, and everything the world says we need. But as believers, we know that none of those things will bring us the peace or fulfillment we truly desire. When we rely on our own strength, we often find ourselves struggling. The Christian walk is difficult. It requires constant effort, prayer, and surrender to God's will. But here's the good news: God's grace is sufficient. In 2 Corinthians 12:9, God says, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." In our moments of weakness, when we can't do it on our own, God's grace is enough. It's in those struggles that we truly experience the power of God's presence in our lives. Growth through the valleys. So as we wrap up today's reflection, I want to remind you of something important. The valleys are not the end of the road. They are part of the journey. God uses these difficult seasons to grow us, to build our character, and to strengthen our faith. No matter how dark or uncertain your valley may seem, remember that God is with you. He has a plan for you, and He will not leave you. Trust Him, surrender to Him, and stand firm in your faith. As you walk through the valleys, remember that you are never alone. And when you come out on the other side, you'll be stronger, wiser, and more connected to God than ever before. I want to encourage you with this thought. Whatever you're facing, God can use it for good. The battle you're fighting now, whether it's in your personal life, your relationships, or your health, can become a stepping stone to something greater. Don't look at your current struggles as permanent. God is working in ways you may not see, and He is turning those battles into blessings. Trust Him, lean on Him, and watch how He transforms your life. Remember, God doesn't waste a single moment of your struggle. He's using it to shape you, to bless you, and to bring you closer to Him. Thank you for spending this time with me today. I pray that you feel encouraged and that you remember, no matter what battles you're facing, God will turn them into blessings. If this message resonated with you today, I encourage you to reflect on it and share it with someone who might need to hear this message of hope. Remember, you are not walking through the valleys alone. God is right beside you, and He is turning your struggles into blessings. God bless you, and until next time, keep trusting Him through every season of life.